extend this show.
Nose to nose.
Eyeball to eyeball.
Face to face. Toe to toe, right? Would be fun. But your husband was a man of many firsts. You mentioned that he was the first man to do a non-singing role in a Metropolitan Opera production, right?
The first movie routine, the butler did it, and the first one to write his own Yiddish lyric to California Hot Comer.
I thought it was
Yiddish, the grammar is as European, it's a European language.
I thought he was great in Cocoon, by the way. He was great.
Yes, Cocoon 1 and 2.
I didn't see Cocoon 2. Was that a
The
big...
first one not to go to the other planet.
Wow. Mr. Guilford says he wants to play a little bit of trivia. We're going to maybe bring in our trivial expert following these words as we honor a very, very special gentleman, and I mean a gentleman named Jack Gilford. Stay here with us. We're kind of memory jogging, right? We're not going down the fast lane. We're going down the leisurely lane. We're remembering a man named Jack Gilford of blessed memory. And I remember when you were on my program, Madeline, with Mrs.
Kate Mostel.
Sadly, she's no longer with us either.
Yeah.
Wow. Did the book do pretty well?
Yes, but we're counting on the fact that when you talk about us today, they'll make a paperback of it.
They definitely should. 170 years of show business by Kate Mostel and Madeline Guilford. And it tells about the Guilfords and the Mostels. Now, unrelated, but in a way related, because I'm sitting here with your relative. Let me ask Sam.
Relatively speaking.
Relatively speaking, right? Good connection. Who would you like to see later on? Now, you got to vouch for the fact that this is unrehearsed. Who would you like to see later on this week on this show, since you're a fan of the show? Who do you want to see? And we'll...
One of the highest ratings, brother, daddy, that ever came across on TV is Mr. the Captain, Lou Albano. He's going to be with you, so you better be ready for the Captain, because he's got the continuity, the greatness. Stop kicking.
You want him this week, huh? Right.
He's a liar, he's a cheat, and he's a fat slob, daddy, and that's the three good things about him. Muscular dystrophy, but he's raised more money than anyone else. What do you want to add to that?
I think it's multiple sclerosis.
That too.
But we're getting closer. We're getting closer. He is a marvelous man. He'll be here in a couple of nights. He's one of my all-time
we love Lou.
favorite guests. You know,
Sam alerts me to all these things. I'd never heard of him.
He's
my chronicler.
Every time Captain Lou is on the show, we get letters, and we do a kind of a mailbag. And I got a letter I'm going to pull on him this week where some lady writes in. She says she thinks that all kind of wrestling, a real letter, all kind of fighting is barbaric. She writes that she's seen men who got physically crippled and mentally deranged and so forth from I mean, she claims some people may call it sport, but she calls it veering toward violence.
I'm sure Lou will talk about that, as we've seen him many times on other programs.
It's a touchy subject, but he'll analyze that one for me, right?
Well, what was interesting is my mother was very anti-violent, a pacifist from the old country.
Right.
And when she was very arthritic, she hated boxing, but she loved wrestling.
And we never could
never could figure it out. But
maybe it showed the forms better. Maybe she'd like to watch the men's forms. You never know.
It
certainly what a form, yeah.
Possible. Let's get a feeling from our king of fitness, who has become our king of trivia. What do you want to say about that kind of a letter where a lady decries the fact that fighting and wrestling could leave one mentally deranged?
Well, I don't believe that would happen, that someone's going to become mentally deranged. It's a sport. As Lou has said many times, it's an exhibition type of sport. You have to be an excellent athlete to be into wrestling.
Plus, you know the risk.
Of course, that's why you're going into it.
And you notice the captain's in shape because he's down to 250 pounds now.
Right.
He does the captain better than the captain does himself.
A little bit of trivia. We're going to try and stump the panel, Mr. Ornstein. Oh. And we call this now not really trivia, but Significa or Magnifica.
I know Sam is supposed to be good at this. In the original 1939 film, Goodbye, Mr. Chips, Robert Donat played the schoolmaster who
Greer Garson.
Oh, Joe, we got a man here.
Greer Garson.
What actor played the next-door neighbor of Donna Stone on the TV show, The Donna Reed Show? He went on to have his own show afterwards. Bob Crane.
Bob Crane.
That's right.
Funny man.
Jack worked with him.
Yeah, he was
who didn't Jack work with? Jack worked with everybody, right?
No, they did Arsenic and Old Lace. You can put that in your tribute with Helen Hayes
I'll put it in the
Dorothy
computer.
Gish. Yeah.
That's great.
Lillian Gish.
Lillian Gish.
Identify the actor who had the male lead in the television series Hawk.
Burt Reynolds.
Right. Whose real name was Jacob Gelman? I'll give you one hint. He starred in Hey Rookies in 1944.
Mr. Jack Gilford.
That's
Jack
right.
Gilford's real name was?
Jacob
Jacob
Gelman.
Gelman.
It was Milton Berlinger.
Let me show you.
That changed his
Milton
name.
Berlinger and Jack Benny was Benjamin Kobletsky.
And many others, John Garfield, Melvin Douglas.
Right.
A lot of Jewish
There's-
people
there
changed
it
their
is.
name.
There's
Joe
Reckless
Franklin.
Age.
My real name is Joe O. Franklin. I was born on St. Patrick's Day. Reckless Age.
I want, Joe, can you tell me who that is? I asked Jack once if it was Jerry or June Prizer,
No,
and he said no, and then I
it's
forgot
neither.
who it was.
I got to check it in my yearbook.
Because
It was
this
whoever-
man knows his Hunyans.
Right. It could have been. That's because I live near the A&P, right? This could have been just a studio player, but I'll check it out. And here is Mr. Budwing with.
James Garner.
And Jack worked with the Hawk, Burt Reynolds, in B.L. Stryker.
He
And we
loved-
mentioned
Burt Reynolds loved my father.
Burt Reynolds.
Yes.
Who did love
Oh.
your father?
Who still doesn't?
And Dom DeLuise is a good friend. Jack not only did a movie with him, but he directed him in his debut.
There's the aforementioned Ruby Keeler and Jack Gilford
And-
in.
No,
And
no, no, the
Net,
revival.
Bobby Van and Helen Gallagher.
Boy, we are remembering Jack Gilford, as Sam might say, at a time like this.
And speaking of memory laning, we have a very special, I know you're very fond of Jerry Durante.
Jimmy.
Jimmy Durante, as I got on your show, Jerry Durante, but just talking off the top of my head what's left of it. And we're going to see a clip that he did on his very special Jack Gilford special, a song that Jimmy Durante, he'll introduce it, Mrs. Calabash, Goodnight Mrs. Calabash, Sammy Fain, lyrics by Yip Harburg.
What year could that have been, roughly or smoothly?
This was 1981.
And it was an unpublished song that Yip his widow gave it to us.
Godfather of mine, who also wrote the words to Wizard of Oz, Paper Moon, April in Paris, Brother Can You Spare a Dime, incredible lyricist,
So this is-
social activist, E.Y. Harburg, Edgar Yipsala.
That was a sneak peek of what happens following these words. Let's watch closely. Be right back. I want to thank the artist and cultural archivist named Sam Guilford and the producer and actress, wonderful lady named Madeline Lee Guilford, for helping us to honor a legend named Jack Gilford. And you're going to give my love to your rocking paper mache statues?
Lester Young and Hasidic
And Joe,
statues.
those caricatures are by the great Al Hirschfeld. One is of Cabaret and one is of Sly Fox
And
by Larry Gelbar.
we've been honoring the great, I mean the greatest, Jack Gilford. Stay well.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
Now, I said before how much I liked Jimmy Durante, and some of you may remember in the late 1950s, the marvelous Jimmy would end his weekly TV show and look up and say, "Good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are." It turned out that he was saying good night in a romantic way to his departed wife. That so touched my dear friend, the late, great lyricist and poet, E.Y. Yip Harburg, and composer Sammy Fain to write this love song for the first time anywhere. Good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are. Are you smiling at me from your favorite star? The star that you wished on when once we were young, of dreams to be dreamed and songs to be sung. Good night, Mrs. Calabash. I blow you a kiss till we meet and we laugh and perhaps reminisce, till finally I'm sure that we will know the mystery of the dream and the song that will go on as long as there's love. Good night, Jimmy Durante. Good night, Yip Harburg. Good night, Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, Harry Langdon. Good night to all those wonderful silent movie clowns. Good night, Zero Mostel. Good night to all the fellows in Brooklyn, on the street corner, in the candy store, in the pool room, who first laughed at me and who got me to go on the stage. Good night, Mrs. Calabash. I blow you a kiss till we meet and we laugh and perhaps reminisce till finally I'm sure that we will know the mystery of the dream and the song that will go on as long as there's love. Good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are.
Every night about this time, we come tiptoeing through the tulips, Tiny Tim's old tulips, and we come tiptoeing into your living room or bedroom or bar room or whatever, and I hope you're going to make room for us. We turn on the cameras, we turn on the memories. Now, talking about memories, before I tell you, well, no, very much in the present first. In the present, I've got the man who gets us our highest ratings, and I mean that. He's one of our beloveds, Captain Lou Albano, and he's going to play post office. We're going to open up the mailbag and read some of your mail and some of his comments, and anytime the captain is with us, it's exciting. We've got the king of ragtime piano, and he's here for a certain reason. The young man's name is Mark Birnbaum, and I've asked Mark, because I must get a dozen letters a week asking to hear my old theme song, 12th Street Rag, if he would play his rendition today of 12th Street Rag, and I promise you it's going to be something nice and ragtimey and nostalgic and neuralgic. We've got in our studio, you've heard about Swing and Sway with Sammy Kaye. We've got in our studio today just Rock and Fuss with Just Us. Just Us is a red-hot band from Atlantic City, getting a lot of press, and they've got many fans out there who've been saying, Joe, we got to get Just Us on this program. And as they say, you ask for it, you get it. You demand it, you command it, you get it. I've got Richard Ornstein with trivia. I got my good friend Tommy Rattacco with some old-time title pages as we go meandering along memory lane. I've got a lot of surprises, but what I've got right now is kind of a sad note. A good friend of ours took his final curtain call about a week ago named Pat Joyce. Pat Joyce was known as the Irish troubadour. Pat Joyce sang on our program many times and composed. No matter where he went, he'd write a song about that place. If that place, he went to the Canary Islands, if the Canary Islands didn't fit what he had in mind, he would change the Canary Islands to fit his song. He was what you would call a very prolific songwriter, and he passed away, and his wife, Stephanie, and his son, Bill, gave me a few of the albums that Pat used to play from his own library, and we're going to play them on the radio and just show them to you now in memory of a man we're going to think about and miss for a long time to come, from the private archives of the late, beautiful Pat Joyce, a Jackie Gleason cover. Libby Holman sang those torchy, torchy blues songs. Glenn Miller. Dick Powell. Hildegard on the radio when she was radio's #1 performer and singing star and comedian. Sir Harry Lauder, who had a big record once called Roman in the Gloamin'. He was the highest priced vaudevillian in the history of vaudeville. Hoagie Carmichael, Mr. Stardust. W.C. Fields and Mae West. And this one I think is kind of an amazing coincidence, because my guest about a month ago was the young man who wrote How to Be a Jewish Mother, and we mentioned that Gertrude Berg had been in that play on Broadway. Young man's name is Dan Greenberg, and we finally found, courtesy of the Joyce family, the original Broadway rendition of How to Be a Jewish Mother. We got to, and that's from a great Irish balladeer whose memory will endure. Again, sympathy and condolences and fond memories of Mr. Pat Joyce. The big show starts like this today. starting with Captain Albano, and he is a hoot. He's great. Stay here. Be right back.